So I've been having a lot of you reach out to me and ask me about making a comprehensive Pixpa tutorial video, and that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. For your convenience, I have timestamps all throughout the video, so you can just check below and you'll be able to see exactly where you want to cut to, reference this video again at any time. Get yourself a free trial for 15 days in the description box below. Use my discount code to save if you do decide to get a subscription. And as always, if you have any questions, leave those in the comment section below, and I'll be happy to help out.
Okay, so let's build our Pixpa website from start to finish. So the first thing you're going to do after you get signed up for either your free trial or you've went ahead and subscribed to Pixpa, you want to start with your theme. Now I'm just going to start by clicking a photography theme. I would recommend you take your time to really go through here and look and see which style most benefits you and fits the kind of overall look that fits your personality. I'm going to start with this Indus theme, which if you watched my 10-minute challenge video, I believe is the same theme I used for that. But yeah, you could change anything at any time. Your theme is not permanent. You can always change that, and even what I'm creating here, we can override this later on. So what I do recommend is when you try out Pixpa, go ahead and get the 15-day free trial and spend those 2 weeks to build your website and get it looking exactly how you want before you start paying and go live with it. Take advantage of those first 15 days to really get the feel of the website and get it set up and working how you want before you start paying for it and going live. That's exactly what I did. So I'm just going to name this Chadeveryday Test, but you might want to name it Your Name Photography or just whatever your business or brand is. That's what you want to put in this section. Again, when you subscribe, you can use your own domain name to link here instead of having chadeverydaytest.pixpa.com. And then after I do that, I'm just going to click Add New Site. Now yours might not look just like that because this is an additional site to what I already have. And if not, that's okay, but you're still going to go through that similar process. So I'm going to break this up into a couple of different categories. We're going to start by doing the design section of our website and getting it looking how we want. And then we're going to go into the actual website building section. And then I'm going to show you how to do the SEO section. Now, I'm not going to include things like e-commerce in this video because that's going to make it entirely too long, and I think it could be its own video, but I promise it'll be coming out just a few days after this one. So this is what your dashboard is going to look like, and the first thing we want to do when we're at our dashboard is click on Customize Style. Now, one thing you're going to see that is really cool about Pixpa is whatever you're editing, you're going to see live updates happen right here. But we do have to remember to publish changes every so often, just so that goes to our live website. The reason it's set up this way is actually very great because you don't want to be making changes to your website and playing around with stuff and then it's updating live every time you make a change because that can really mess with things. So it's great because you can come in here and completely redesign your entire website while it's live. But until you hit publish changes, nobody's going to see those changes. So that makes it really convenient. So the first thing we're going to start with is site title and logo. Pretty self-explanatory, but what I'm going to do here is put in the Chadeveryday Photography. And even though I'm about to override this with my logo, I still want to put this here for the Google web crawlers. I want them to be able to read the text and know what this website is to increase my searchability and make sure that I show up on Google. You can also change this font, but I'm going to leave all this alone because most likely nobody's going to ever see this. But if you do want to use just a site title and not a logo, or you just don't have one, that's perfectly fine. You can customize it more by clicking in these areas. Now, as far as the logos, I'm just going to go ahead and upload my traditional mountain logo, and I'll show you how you can make some changes on that. Once you get your logo added in, you're going to see that this width slider starts to pop up. Now, obviously, my logo was a pretty big file, and it's way too big, so I'm going to dial this back down, and I've done this a couple of times, so I know something about 74 to 90 something is about the right size. So I'm actually going to try my hardest to get it right there about 95. So you don't have to worry about uploading a logo at a certain size like I've experienced in the past, because there is that responsiveness that it can scale the logo up or down. Just make sure you do upload something that's big enough that it's going to show up and have enough resolution to it that you can scale it back and forth. My logo is also uploaded as a transparent PNG, which you can do that in Photoshop, of course, just to make sure that the background shows up and it looks nice on the website. So if this had a black background to it and there's like a square around it, it would look kind of awkward here. So you want to be sure to have a transparent image if possible. Now, the other section that I'm going to edit is I'm going to upload a fave icon here, and essentially it's the same as my logo. And again, you want to use a transparent background and just hit open. It's going to upload, and then I'll show you the changes that will actually make. So now that we're pretty much done here in this section, before I leave it, I want to hit Publish Changes. And I'm just going to click over here on View Site. It's going to open up a brand new tab, and we can see that the fave icon is now here at the top. We have my logo here, and then that's really the only changes that we've made thus far. So let's go ahead and close this out and go back to our next section. The next section is the header, and essentially all I'm going to do here is change the layout. If you click Change Layout here at the top beside of Header Layout, you can choose from all these different options of how you want your header to look. Me personally, I like the logo and navigation to the left and my social media links to the right. And that's all I'm going to do with that section. I'm just going to hit back. You can change if you want your navigation to scroll with the site, and basically what that means is when people scroll, it hides that navigation so they're paying attention to your content. Or you can have it fixed where as they scroll down the website, the navigation actually stays in place. But I don't like that because you can see that it's just kind of covering up some of these images. It's kind of hard to see anyhow. So what I recommend is just doing the scroll with site. I leave sticky navigation alone. I just don't touch anything there. And then for the logo and title link, anytime they click on this logo, most of the time you want them going back to the home page. So I just leave home page selected, but you do have the option to do other links if you choose to do that. You have an option to have a menu button on here. I don't personally use the menu button, but this is kind of what it would look like. There is some customization that we can do to this later, which I will be showing you, but I'm just going to be turning off buttons in the navigation for my personal preferences. And that's really it in that section. So we just finished up with the header. Now is when we go into the color section. The colors will control your background, which is the background for the website. You have the header background color area as well as the footer area. I personally just leave mine to white. I would recommend that you could do something like black as well and incorporate maybe some of your brand colors, but I feel like using white, black, or gray are typically the best options. And I only ever edit background, header, and footer. I'd never really mess with site overlay or the overlay elements. And I also don't necessarily recommend uploading a background image. But if you want to put some type of texture back there that maybe fits with your brand, I could see that being okay, but I find that just the solid color tends to work best. Now the spacing section, I never go in here. If perhaps there's an issue with my website and it's not formatting correctly on either desktop or mobile, and you can always change back and forth between desktop and mobile view of your website as you're editing just to kind of see different looks and feels of it, you can do that. But as far as the spacing section, I just never go into that. So now in the menu section, what this section allows you to control is the fonts and the overall look of your menu. So I'm pretty happy with the way this font looks here. You might want to stay away from using script fonts or any font that might be hard to read. I find that just kind of simple, straightforward fonts typically are the best when we're talking about navigations. Now, where you can get more personalized with them is controlling things like the color. So I'm going to leave my links in this dark gray, but I want to change this hover color to fit more in line with my particular brand. And I typically like to use kind of like this yellowish gold color in with my brand. And ideally, I would want to match my logo here, but my logo's changed. This is an older one. But when I hover over these links now, the link I'm about to click on is going to change to my brand color. I think that's just a really nice touch. And then maybe this gray is a little bit too dark, so let's kind of lighten that gray up some, just so it kind of separates from the active link. I also don't like this line being over top of the text. So you can control that by the active link styles here. You can see the overline is selected. I'm going to hit no style. You also have control of your drop-down menu, so you can see that galleries here has its own drop-down, and essentially I'm just going to leave that as is. I think having it as a subset of this menu, maybe with a different color than the gray, and have it hover over different colors just looks better. I find it just helps to keep that nice separation between your main menu and this drop-down, but you have that whole control section here. And then finally, in the more options, you can do different things like spacing. So right now it's set to 1.5. Let's say we set that to 1.0. It's just going to move that text a little bit closer together. You have element spacing where you can move some more pieces around, but for the most part, I leave everything as is. The final section here is the icon color. So you can use the menu color. So like your social media icons here are going to fit within the theme. So they're also going to be gray, just like your text. Or you can use the brand color. So whichever social media icon it is, it will change colors based on that particular brand's colors. I like that look, so I'm going to go with that one, and I want to be sure to publish my changes. The next section is text, and when we're editing text, I like to do this on a page that has a lot of text, so that way we can see what we're doing. So we're going to go to this About page really quickly, and you can see that if we scroll to the bottom, we'll go into our paragraph text, which is going to be all this text here. So if we want to change that from Open Sans to, say, Able, all we have to do is click that, and it's going to update to that text. You can also change the color of the text. I think going with things that are pretty simple and straightforward typically work the best, either black text on a white background or maybe even white text on a black background. I wouldn't get crazy with colors with text because the harder you make it to read, the less likely someone's actually going to read it. And the same deal with the paragraph text. You have control of your 4 different headings. So heading 1, 2, 3, and 4 obviously are different sizes, and you could change those. So if you wanted your heading to be your brand color, you would simply find out which heading you have here, change that to your brand color, and then it will update and change. But again, I like to keep my things pretty minimal, so I'm not actually going to be changing that right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit Publish Changes because I did work around that paragraph text, and I'm going to go back to my design section. We're going to skip galleries for right now because I'm going to show you how to edit some galleries in a moment. But let's go ahead and go to social sharing. Mobile options, by the way, controls all the things we just did on the desktop version, but strictly for mobile. So everything I already taught you as far as the header layout, the styles, the alignment, the text, and the colors, apply that same information to the mobile section. Social sharing is definitely an option that you're going to want to use. And personally for me, I put my social media icons in both the header and the footer areas. If you don't want to do that, you just want to do one or the other, you're more than welcome. It's your website. But if you want to add social media links to this and control where those social media links actually go, you'll simply click on this Manage Social Links, and it's going to take you straight to that section within Pixpa. From here, you can hit Select Social Icons, and then simply type in whatever social media app. So let's say Facebook, we have that. And I definitely do YouTube, so let's be sure to add that as well. And then once you get those added, just make sure that you put in your respective links. Now, you might see the Instagram is here, and it's going to go in our social navigation, but we also have the option to connect and authenticate Instagram. You want to be sure to do that. That's not something that's specific just to Pixpa. That's the same for any website you build. It's a safety thing with Instagram just to make sure that you own that account and you can be sharing the images and everything. But I'm going to go ahead and save this and show you kind of some updates here and more so what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and publish our changes so we don't lose anything that we've been editing here. And let's go ahead and visit our site, and I'll show you what I was talking about. So if we scroll down the bottom, you're going to see Follow Me on Instagram. Now, obviously, this is not my Instagram account. However, if I had activated and authenticated my Instagram account, it would show up here. You do have controls of how this looks. Anytime you upload a picture onto Instagram, it'll also update and show up on your website as well. And you might notice that the social media icons are not here. So I have noticed sometimes when you are editing these different sections, be sure that you go in and click on these areas. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit both for my social media icons and let this refresh just to make sure it shows up. I'm going to hit Publish Changes, And then let's go ahead and refresh the website and take a look. And there's our social media icons. Now, that's one reason that I do go and look at my changes quite frequently. So that way, after I've done a few things in a section, I can go and look. And just like that, I might have overlooked these social media icons if I waited till later. So it's good to check your website frequently to make sure those updates and changes are actually working. So let's get out of social sharing. And buttons and links is pretty simple. This just controls the colors and the shapes and the overall looks of different buttons and links on your website. So, for example, this button right here, if I wanted to change the color of that to say red, I could just click on the red here, and then my buttons are going to be red from here on out. So, pretty self-explanatory in this section. Really no need to go over it. So that pretty much covers everything from the design side of things. Now let's get into actually building our pages and customizing this site to hold our content. So from our design section here, we want to get back to the website. So just hit this back arrow to website, and then we're going to go, we were here in design, but let's go to edit website. So now you can see here in my menu, there's these little dots, and essentially those are spacers that are going in between those. If you don't want those little spacers there, you can, or something's in the menu that you don't want, you simply click these three dots and you can hit delete. You can duplicate something, you can hide it in the menu so they don't actually see it, but it still applies that space, or you can control the actual settings. Now, if we want to add something, we simply hit add a page, and you can see that there are separators here. So if we want to add separators in, if they're not already showing up on your menu, you can add in a folder and different things like that. But let's go ahead and start with a simple page, and I'm going to call this contact. Let's go ahead and hit next. Now, when you add a new page, what's cool is you can choose if you want a general type page. So if you just wanted to have general information or something to that extent. If you want an about page, which in this case we already have one, but we want to create a contact page. So you can create whichever one of these pages seems to work best for you. I personally like this one here. So once we click on it, it's going to upload that template and get it all set up for us. So then all we have to do is fill in our respective information. So let's just pretend that I went ahead and changed all this and updated it to my information, and everything's good to go. Well, one thing we do want to do is click on Manage Fields here. And this allows us to control how this contact form works. We can put what information we want to collect, such as the name, email address, and of course the message that they want to send to us. We can control what our button label is. So in this case, we want to have submit, choose our button size, our color, and all that other customization that you want to do. Now, you can also put in a post submit message. So when they send a message to you, this is what it's going to say back to them. So something simple like your message was successfully sent or something like that works fine. You can go into the settings and have it send to email, so when somebody actually sends you this message, it'll go to your email address. You can choose what email address you want to put in there, and that's basically it. Pretty simple and straightforward. But if you're not very happy with the way the theme works, you can always add sections. You can click that from down here. You can go here and see that like there's a spacer here. Maybe I don't want this spacer. We're going to delete that. If I don't want to put that I'm in New York City and have my location, I can delete that as well. So you can delete or add as much to this page and site that you want. It's good to just kind of play around with it and see what you like. Again, this is why I say do that 15-day free trial first to build your website and get it looking how you want. But I'm just going to kind of delete some of this stuff, make it super sweet and simple, and that's how easy it is to add a page. Now you can add any type of page that you want, but for the sake of the demo, we just kind of did this contact page, and that's basically it. Now, with the gallery section, this is already set up, but let's just say galleries wasn't set up. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that, and we're just going to create our own little gallery. So I'm going to hit Add a Page, and we're going to click on Gallery, and I'm just going to call this Landscape Prints. Now, at this point, we just want to start adding some media. So in this case, I'm going to click Images, Browse and Upload, and I'm just going to quickly find some pictures that I can upload just to kind of show you how this works. So go ahead and click on them, and it's going to start uploading our images. If you have a bunch of images or massive file sizes, Pixpa does give you the option to continue working in a new window, but we're done. So let's just go ahead and hit close. Now this is just where you upload. If you want to change everything up, you go into your settings. This controls your title. If you want the page visible, hidden, or unpublished, you can password protect it. There's a lot of different things you can do here, including your search engine optimization, which I highly recommend doing, and I'll be talking more about that towards the end of the video. But we'll just go ahead and click Save. And let's work on our design here. So you can either use gallery site-wide options that are already set up, which can be found in that gallery section that I told you about a minute ago that we would talk about. So we'll go look at that in just a second. Or you can style the gallery differently. So if you want each gallery to look different, you just click that box and then you change your layout. There's a ton of different layouts you could do with your galleries. You can do full images, sliders. You have dynamic grids, which is typically what I like. There's fixed grids, which we have now, and then you have your block layer patterns. I'm just going to go ahead and click Save and just keep the one that's currently set. You can control if it's full width, boxed, or site width. Personally, what I recommend here is to just view your gallery, see what this looks like, and then change these, save it, and preview it to see which ones that you like best. You also have control over the grid spacing, so you can see here they're pretty evenly spaced. We can have them on top of each other. We can have it moved apart, whatever you want to do. So like this entire section, I recommend just playing around with it, saving the changes, and this previewing the changes to see what works best for you. Now this setup that we're looking at here, this is exactly what it's like in the gallery section I showed you in the design section earlier. It's just it controls more of that site-wide gallery look versus this individual control you have here. So it's pretty much exactly the same thing. So once we're done, we're pretty much done with that. Let's go ahead and hit back. And let's just take a look at our website here. Let's go to the home page. At this point, we're essentially done. I mean, there's a few things I need to clean up, like if I want to add more spacers and move this stuff around. Obviously, these links all need to have either all capital or capital and lowercase, whatever. But we have our contact page that we just created. It's alive and well. We have our Instagram that we've hopefully authenticated, and it's updating as well. And then now we have our very first gallery, where people can click on our images and scroll through and just see a lot of cool things there. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on e-commerce or setting up like client galleries and such, because I do have a video where I talk about how I set up my personal e-commerce, and I think that's going to be a video all on its own, so be sure to look out for that one here in the coming weeks. But the last thing I do want to talk about today is our website SEO section. This is very important, and you want to make sure that you do this. So you want your site title to go here. My main site, of course, is just Chadeveryday. This is how it's going to show up in Google. This will even update and show you how it's going to work. So site title, and then site description kind of just goes here. And then just kind of read along these tooltips they have set up for you. Make sure that your website is allowed in search engine results, and then you can go into your SEO manager here and you can control different sections. So this is going to show you every single page in your website. So you want to make sure you create titles for them and descriptions for them. It may not be the most fun thing in the world, but it's very important to help you to show up in Google and other search results, because you want to make sure that people find you. That's kind of the point of having the website, is so people can find you and learn more about you and do whatever it is that you want them to do. Now, there is a whole lot more within Pixpa, but as far as designing and building your website and getting it ready to go, that's essentially all you need to know. If there's any more specifics, be sure to leave those in the comments section here on YouTube, and I'll be sure to either make a video for you or try to explain it in the best way possible.
So thanks so much for watching today. If you do have any questions, leave those in the comments section below. But as you saw, Pixpa is very easy to use, and you can have a website up and running in practically no time. It took me about 30 minutes in real time to make this entire tutorial. So all in all, about an hour or two, you can have your website up and pretty much ready to go. But I do recommend taking those free 15 days to really build and test your website before you subscribe and actually go live. But hope to see you on the next video. And as always, be sure to create something new today.